Hello everyone, my name is MixMastaPJ. This is going to be American Gladiators on the Nintendo Entertainment System. One of my favorite games from my childhood. For those of you guys who've never seen the TV show, or a little young to remember that, American Gladiators was probably the closest thing you can compare it to now is something like professional wrestling, but it was a bunch of average Joes that would go and try and beat all of these events and compete against each other, while the Gladiators were trying to embarrass them and make them look bad. The Gladiators themselves were, bodybuilders and, ex-football players and athletes and whatnot, so they generally made the average Joes look quite silly. This game is very similar in the way that it's structured that way. There are going to be 5 different events that we play, and we're going to do them each 4 times through 4 different levels, with the final level at the end being an obstacle course called the Eliminator, just like the TV show. The video game takes a lot of liberties with what that might actually look like, but we'll see that in just a sec here. I'll show you guys the events and talk a bit about them as we come across them. So we'll get ready to start here in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so our first event here is Joust. We got to beat 4 of these gladiators. That is unlike the show. You only have to beat 1 gladiator in the show. This event has a lot of fighting game mechanics to it, but they don't have any special moves. They just have areas where they're vulnerable at certain periods of time. So this gladiator is very vulnerable to the high hit. Now, this is very simple and easy for level 1, but as you get to levels 2, 3, and 4, the patterns in which they're vulnerable and then they're blocking in other spots, they get much more complicated, and they're able to block your attacks there in those spots if you're not ready to predict the pattern. After every 3rd gladiator that you fight, there's going to be the super stick that spawns, which means that if you get the first hit and the first attack on the next gladiator, you get to knock him down in a 1-hit kill. It's one of the power-ups that's available for this event. There are other things for the other events here. We're coming up on the wall in just a second. That's the one that looks the least like the TV show. It looks like you're basically scaling the side of a building as opposed to being inside of a television studio. Alright, so we'll climb the wall here. This one also uses a very strange control scheme. This is the only game I've ever played on NES where I hold the controller on my leg like this. The A button controls your right hand, and the B button controls your left hand, and it moves in whichever direction you happen to be holding the D-pad at that moment in time. So I'm really holding this kind of like you'd hold a fighting game controller, so that my fingers can tap on the A and B buttons, as opposed to using my thumb on any of those buttons. Okay, so we try to set that up there so we can go straight through here on that one tiny little grip on the left. There are some gloves over there that we're not going to use on this wall, but we will use them on wall 2. Oh! The other thing this game kind of happens once in a while is if you put in the inputs at a certain frame, it triggers that they might accidentally be in at the same time and drops you from the wall. It happens occasionally. It's really a bad beat to happen in a level 4 wall when you're doing really, really well, but strange that it happened in a marathon here. I'll have to go back and see exactly what happened on the VOD. Alright, we'll go there. We gotta get to this tiny row up here to spawn that gladiator. We have to reach up there. Oh! Okay. Almost fell off there. Oof, that's the wall. Took a little longer than we wanted, but we got it. Alright, the next event after this is Human Cannonball. This one has us swinging from a rope trying to knock gladiators off the other pedestal there. And just like Joust, there's going to be 4 of these guys. It's really important for your angle at the gladiator to be grabbing onto the bottom of the rope as close as possible. If you're on the top part of the rope, what'll happen is you'll basically fall down at the gladiator, they'll lift up that shield and kind of deflect you away. So we don't want that to happen. So instead, we're going to wait an actual second time through here, because the way that the rope approaches the gladiator in the first time here, it's actually impossible to knock him off. You're coming at an angle so that he's able to block, and we still got blocked there. But what makes this event tricky is sometimes, well, actually you guys can see it here, the different speeds of the rope and the different speeds of the platforms change for each gladiator. They're all kind of their own independent puzzle you have to solve. That one we had to release a little bit early, and we got it. This one you can see there's just a little bit of skew, so the gladiator's going to be in a little bit different spot than where our pedestal would take us, but that's not too hard. that's Cannonball. The next event is Powerball. It's basically an auto-scroller, but it's a chance to earn points and extra lives and such. So we still gotta play through it, but, I'll be able to discuss a couple other things while we're in here. So, the way that you get an extra life is you stick a ball in each of the 5 buckets before the timer in the corner runs out. In level 1, there's actually ample time to do it twice if you're getting really lucky with the Gladiator RNG there. You can kind of manipulate them to get stuck behind those things, but like I said before, if this was a speed run, I'm not really concerned about extra lives. If I need these extra lives, then it wasn't going to be a great run to begin with. So, it's not usually something I put a whole lot of time and effort into. The different levels of the game in Powerball, all they do is decrease the time. Nothing actually gets harder. So the only thing that'll be different is next time we get the Powerball in level 2, there'll be 55 seconds instead of 60. And then in level 3, it'll be 5 less seconds than that, and level 4, 5 less seconds than that. The event after this we're about to do is called Assault. That's the one that most people remember from the TV show, where they, launch these tennis balls at 100 miles an hour at people wearing, tight pants or spandex and a pair of, swimming goggles. And we're trying to shoot the Gladiator 3 times before he shoots us 3 times. So here's Assault. I just think it's cool that there were games like this on NES that kind of had a mini-game feel to them. Everyone loved that kind of aspect of Mario Party and stuff like that, but this game had literally 5 different game... 6 once we get to the Eliminator. 6 different game engines programmed into one tiny NES cartridge. So, I don't know, it seems like it was way ahead of its time in trying to implement a lot of different games to appease a lot of different people. Alright, so we're done with level 1 there. Now everything's going to get a little bit trickier here. And the color palette's going to change for everyone's viewing pleasure there as well. Look at that light blue panels. Wow. Alright, so this Gladiator's a little bit different. You can see how I already was changing where I was hitting there, and he starts blocking there instead. So we have to change a couple of things around in our patterns of attack with the Joust guys and look for how they respond. We don't want to get too close to them either, because then if we get too close in their range, our hits don't connect and they can push us back really far. So gotta be careful on the spacing. We're gonna try and get a combo here, so we can get a low and then a high hit immediately. Nope, we weren't spaced correctly. A little too far away. It's okay. Alright, our super stick's gonna spawn over here this time. We gotta get a low hit to connect. If we get that, then we'll get a one-hit kill here. And that's what we got. Alright, Joust 2 is down. Hopefully, Wall 2 treats us well. Unlike the bad luck we got in Wall 1. And we'll see the gloves in the wall, which are an interesting item. What they'll allow us to do is move without pressing the A and the B button, which means that we'll go really, really, really fast. But through tricky parts of the wall, that's not really always a good thing. So we'll have to be kind of careful and wait for Gladiators to get out of our way sometimes. This part here is a little bit tricky, but if you line yourself up, you can just go straight diagonal through it. They want you to go up and around, but you can actually cut diagonally through there as well. Now, we got the gloves. You can see our hands are blinking, and we're going really, really fast, but you touch the button for 1 frame too long, and your guy, or I don't know if we're a guy or a gal in this event. My guess is we're a gal, because all the Gladiators are gals, but then she just falls right off the wall. So, we don't want to do that and bump into any of those things or lose grip. And we got these 2 Gladiators here, and then one we got to outrun here at the end. And we'll get there to that side, and Wall 2, taken care of. The walls were definitely the events that everyone was not the biggest fan of when they were a child. They were like, this is just so impossibly hard. But kind of once you figure it out, it's like solving a puzzle. And once you figure it out, the route you want to take and the mapping of the buttons, it becomes much more natural feeling. All right. Cannonball 2 is a lot tougher than Cannonball 1. You're going to see a few things different here. Look how fast that second platform's going. Would be. Just make sure that we're setting up our timing windows appropriately here. We're going to see the gloves appear here. We're going to grab those. They let us slide up and down the rope. So they're a pretty great item. We're hoping it lets us glitch through the ceiling here. So this is going to be our first glitch attempt. And we're gonna try and clip the ceiling and take out the Gladiator. It's a huge time save to do that. Otherwise, you gotta wait a couple of times to line up everything. So that was pretty awesome that we got that clip. Alright. Got some more time to kill him Powerball here. Let's see if we can actually, Guy's gonna run me down. This is one of the few games that I happen to speedrun that I actually still own my original copy from childhood. I remember getting this game in 91 or 92 at my local toy store. It was not Toys R Us, but it had the same Toys R Us kind of vibe to it, where you'd grab the ticket from like the counter where it was like they had the things in the windows, and you grabbed the card and you walked all the way to the front desk, and then the teenager making minimum wage walked into the back and grabbed the game for you. I vividly remember that with my grandmother buying me this game as a kid, because I used to watch the TV show at her house every summer. So, if you guys remember the show, this game is just for you. This is the best version of all the games. It's much better than the SNES version. The SNES version plays like an even worse version of Nickelodeon Guts. Alright. The only thing in Assault that's different is now he has 4 HP instead of 3 HP. So he's got to shoot him 4 times. And, you know, make sure we don't get taken out in the meantime. Alright. Half of them down. Half the events to go. We're now on level 3. I actually find Joust level 3 to be harder than Joust level 4. Because the patterns are much longer and more complex. Which means that if we get hit, which we definitely don't want to get hit, but if we do get hit, and he blocks us out and stuff like that, it's really hard to figure out where in the pattern you're joining back in. So if the pattern is like 7 or 8 steps long, and it's like, well, he's... Okay, so when I go back into this fight, should I swing high, middle, or low? It's kind of hard to know that if you're not, you know, aware of where you are in the pattern. So we're just going to do our absolute best to make sure that if he blocks us, we reflect appropriately and jump back into the pattern in the right spot. Oh, we got that combo. That pattern starts with enough highs that if you're able to connect on all of them, you can take him out before the pattern gets weird. Alright? That was a really good Joust 3 for us. Alright, Wall 3 has a couple high variance plays that can be really rewarding. We're going to try and skip over a spot that I don't think they expect us to skip over. And then we're going to try and dart past the Gladiator by grabbing a pair of gloves like a 1/10 of a second before she spawns on the screen. So we also are really careful with our diagonal movements here. If you notice that the player can climb up and down much faster than they can go left and right, but they can go left and right at the same speed they travel diagonally. So if we're going, we would rather just go diagonally if possible. We'd rather, because they're going the exact same speed. All right, so here's one of the tricks we got to worry about. We got to spawn the screen all the way over to the right, otherwise this won't work. Then we got to go over here. We're going to do some technical moves. And we're going to put that hand there and skip over that little gap. They really kind of want you to navigate that spot over there on the right, which is really hard because those gladiators will spawn and then fall on you, as opposed to you being able to run around them like you can by going on the left. Alright, here's this tight window here to grab these gloves. As soon as we grab them, we're going to have to beat a gladiator. Ah, hit that gap. Just jumped a little too early. Alright. Do this a little bit better this time then. Try and maximize the diagonal movements. This is also one of those events that you really can't practice for a long time because your hands really get tired doing this. Unless you're like, you know, someone who plays the piano or something like that repeatedly and can tap the same 2 fingers back and forth for a long period of time. This one can be actually physically demanding, which sounds weird, considering that we all, as speedrunners, play a lot of games for long periods of time. But this just puts our hands in different positions that we're not typically used to. I don't know, maybe there's a better controller for this level. Maybe I should be breaking out the power glove. Alright, cool, we broke through there. It's a very tight window between missing that grip and then her grabbing your ankle. You have to find the perfect medium there of not letting either of those 2 things happen. Alright. And that's Wall 3. Yeah, I don't know what other controller options are out there. I have a feeling like the NES Max or the dog bone or something like that are gonna like the Max is gonna be useless because I need to be able to alternate the buttons. Oh, this guy's really quick. We gotta be careful. Got that. That scream is so epic too. I don't know how good the audio is coming in on that for you guys. Oh, this is our first long distance one. We're gonna see a long distance one. We're gonna trust the gloves. We're just gonna grab the gloves because we know we like them. Slide down the rope. Alright, we're gonna try and clip through the ceiling one more time here. Oh, we missed it. Alright, that happens. Sometimes it's impossible to line up after that. Alright, so this one's a little bit tougher because you can see how fast the platforms are going and how pathetically slow our rope is going. So, I haven't tested it out, but I've grinded it enough on the EverDrive with save states to figure out that these first few times there, it's almost impossible. But that third time around the 6 o'clock drop is when you can hit them pretty consistently. So, that's what we go with there. That's our backup strat if we don't get the ceiling clip. Alright. We got another Powerball here to kill some time. I'd like to think that if you're one of those people who believe in the multiple universes thing, I don't really spend a whole lot of my brain power thinking about that stuff. But if you do, there's a universe out there, probably, where in 1991, people were like, professional wrestling is dumb. American Gladiators is where it's at, and that's what we're watching on Mondays and Thursdays instead. I'm just saying. How cool would that be? If this was still a thing, and it was like, you know, popularly followed, and everyone just knew who all the gladiators were. Like, it was common knowledge. I'm in. There's actual competition in American Gladiators. It's not just sports entertainment. Alright. These next couple assaults that we're going to have in 3 and 4 are so tough with the higher HP and the more difficult weapon placements that it's just very rare that we actually defeat the gladiator. So what we're going to try and do is what they do in the TV show when they can't shoot the gladiator, which is we're just going to try to run to the finish line before we get shot 3 times. We got shot once there, that's okay. We can also use the weapon... Oh, that's not good. We can use the weapon to kind of manipulate where he's going to be, because he'll kind of be scared of us, which is nice. Oh, wow, I didn't even see him shoot the tennis ball. Oh, man. That's the worst place to get shot, too, because then you got to fall all the way down the screen. Oof. But you can see that he will change direction if he's trying to, like, dodge a weapon that you're shooting at him. So we're still going to try to pick up the weapons if we can. To kind of just move him around to our advantage here. We should be okay now. We've only gotten shot once. And there's the finish line. Alright, cool. On to level 4. Alright, the joust patterns in level 4 actually aren't as hard. They just change a lot faster. So there will be significantly less frames that this gladiator will be vulnerable in the window that he's vulnerable at. So he's already blocking high. He's blocking mid again, so we have to just change a lot quicker. And we just have to make sure that we don't get lost in the pattern. But the patterns overall are less steps, so if we do get lost, it isn't as difficult to figure it out. The super stick is going to be brutal, though. The super stick will not spawn until after we get pretty far ahead after this pedestal, and then we have to, like, double back to try and pick it from behind us, so... I've definitely fallen off the platforms and died a bunch of times in the middle of a good run on Joust 4. Not my proudest moments. We gotta run all the way over to here to spawn it. Then we gotta jump back over to here, and then we'll grab it. The jumping physics in this level are different than every other physic in the game, so not a lot of opportunities to practice that, and they don't really make a whole lot of sense. You can't actually jump straight up and down. Wall 4 has got a couple of tough spots. There's one here at the beginning where we're going to try and sprint through a tiny little hallway before the gladiator catches us. Right here. Oh, we did it. That was close. So the gladiators, if you guys haven't been able to tell, when they spawn on the screen, they're just going straight towards the player. They're like red turtle shells from Mario Kart 1. They don't care if there's walls in the way, or hazards in the way, or any of these green and purple balls, or lack of handles. They're just going to go straight towards you no matter what. So you basically try to angle yourself in such a way so that they're going to go into some sort of hazard and fall down because of what they run into when they're going straight after you. Alright. Get these gloves, and then we got to be careful not to miss any of these edges. We got a couple new strats up here that we do now. Now we go up here. It's the better way, apparently. And then this move, where we abuse that move about the gladiator going straight towards us, we just stick our hand down there and say, okay, I gotta go down a little, and then she falls. And then, toughest gladiator to beat. We're done playing the walls. That's it. Wall 1 through 4 are taken care of. Alright, so we got Cannonball next. No clipping through the ceiling on Cannonball 4, sadly. Gladiator number 4 is a long-distance one, so it's not going to work. We will have to do it the original way. The way that Game Tech intended. Alright. Quick movement platform here. We can't actually reach that rope, at least in a spot that we like, on the first come-through high. Oh! A little bit early with that release. There we go. Alright, we're gonna just trust the gloves again. That's what we've been doing on these. Oh, just missed. Alright. It's a tough rope to grab, but we need the gloves. Alright, we're gonna jump much earlier. Do that. There we go. Grab the gloves after the rope. That works too. Plus, we're gonna get a 1-up out of this, so it's fine. We're not gonna grab the rope here. Can't jump that high. Even though we've got a vertical of about 7 or 8 seconds, we actually can't jump particularly high. Alright, we're gonna go grab this 1-up. Look how fast that guy's going, and we don't even get to see him when we're over here. So the best time is around the fourth time by at around 6 o'clock. So we're gonna try that when the rope is pointing straight down on the next come by here. See what we get. Cross your fingers. Ooh yeah. Hal right in the kisser. We're done with the cannonballs. About a 6-frame window there. So, not the most difficult, but definitely not a gimme. Alright. While we're playing another Powerball here and killing some time, I'm going to talk about the Eliminator. So the Eliminator has got to it 5 different phases. It's got a bunch of platforms at first, where the gladiators are throwing medicine balls at you. Then it's got a hand bike section. We're riding a hand bike, and the gladiators are throwing medicine balls at us. Then we got to jump on all these conveyor belts going in different directions. And the gladiators throwing medicine balls at us. Then we got a second hand bike section for some reason. And then we have a zip line section at the end. Now, it is an auto-scroller, but it's like a really punishing auto-scroller, being that if the left side of the screen touches us, we just fall off and die too. It's not like it pushes us along in Mario 3. No, it's just, you're just done. So, there's also a glitch that we're going to try and do to skip the entire 3rd and 4th segments. We're going to try and spawn a second hand bike in the hand bike section there. So, we're going to get to that in a second here. We're just going to get to our finish line here against Assault. Hopefully not take any hits early. That's not too bad. Could be worse. Yeah, we're safe. Alright, we did it. Cool. Alright, so the way to spawn a second hand bike is when you get finished the platform section and you grab the hand bike. If you get hit by a medicine ball immediately, you'll get bounced back onto the platform, and the hand bike will stay there. But when you try to grab it again, it'll put a second hand bike there and you can't move. So we're going to try and do that. And because what happens is the game thinks, oh, well, this person's already been on 2 hand bikes, so they must be on the second hand bike section, not the first hand bike section. When they respawn us after our intentional death, we'll have skipped all the way to that section. So that's what we're hoping to make happen here. We'll see how well the medicine ball RNG is going. Ask your doctor if medicine balls are right for you. Ooh, that's a good one. Might get us there. Oh my goodness, we got it. Alright, so we got the second hand bike. I can't move right now. I just died. For Sorry, I'm depriving you guys of what the third section of this looks like, but we're just going to skip right ahead to the ending section of the zip lines. You don't get to see the conveyors, but that's because we got the handbrake glitch in a marathon, which happens like 10% of the time. So, you win some, you lose some. If wall 1's going to take a bunch of time away from it, at least the Eliminator gave us some of it back. So we're going to go down these zip lines here. I like to imagine that all of these zip lines going down are us traversing down all of the walls that we climbed earlier. Alright. And we did it! Time is going to happen when that timer in the corner reaches 0. That's pretty good. 24:27, not bad. That's pretty darn good. I'm pretty happy with that time. I hope you guys found this game enjoyable. I've been playing this game forever. This is the first game I ever speedran back 3 years ago. It was the only one I speedran. Then when I started speedrunning again this year, I pushed myself to get a world record in it and was successful. And now I've kind of moved on to a lot of other NES games. So if you like what you saw, I'm constantly streaming NES stuff at MixMastaPJ and would love to hear any feedback you guys have. Thank you guys so much from ResortFest for having me, and Commander for producing such an amazing event. He's been such an MVP behind the scenes. You guys don't even know. But thank you guys all for tuning in to watch one of my favorite games ever. Next up, we're gonna have Infernal being played by Deluxe R Us. And thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.